Love X Revenge presents. Welcome back to the channel, where every story reminds you that karma may take its time, but it never forgets. Today's tale is about power, pride, and a janitor whose brilliance changed everything. Settle in. The morning the trouble began, Lila Torres stood in the marble-floored lobby of Arcturan Technologies with her mop and supply cart, watching the CEO breeze past her without a glance. This was nothing new. Victor Hale, billionaire founder and self-proclaimed visionary, rarely noticed anyone he considered irrelevant, and to him, janitors were the most invisible people of all. But today, Victor didn't just ignore her. He stopped, smirked, and said loudly to the executives trailing behind him, "If the cleaning staff were half as efficient as our engineers, maybe we wouldn't be flushing millions down the drain." His audience laughed dutifully. Lila said nothing. She'd learned long ago that pride wasn't worth losing a job over. Still, her fingers tightened around the mop handle. She hadn't always worked in maintenance. Once, she was a robotics prodigy, one of the youngest in her university to publish research on autonomous micromechanics. But life, in all its unpredictable cruelty, had twisted her path. A sudden illness had taken her father, medical bills had taken her savings, and dropping out had taken her future. Arcturan offered the quickest paycheck. She took it. For 2 years, she disappeared into the background. What no one knew was that she hadn't stopped inventing. Behind the metal door of the supply closet, hidden beneath bundles of disinfectant wipes and trash bags, lay her secret project, a palm-sized device she called the Microflux. Unlike traditional repair bots, it could navigate complex machinery autonomously, detect structural faults, and perform micro-repairs at a speed no human engineer could match. It wasn't just an invention. It was her comeback, and soon, she would need it more urgently than she realized. Arcturan had a problem, a big one. Their flagship AI-powered drone system, Apex Wing, was malfunctioning across multiple units. The launches were failing, investors were panicking, and the board was threatening to cut Victor's authority unless he found a miracle. Victor barked orders, fired a department head, and doubled the engineering staff's hours. Nothing helped. One night, as Lila finished her shift, she overheard 2 engineers whispering in the hallway. "If we don't fix the Apex Wing core by Friday, the board will vote Victor out. We can't fix it. The system glitches aren't even traceable." Lila's heart pounded. The Microflux might actually be able to diagnose something that microscopic. But she dismissed the idea quickly. No one would listen to a janitor. Yet fate has a strange way of pushing people where they need to go. The next morning, just as she entered the lobby, the building's main power grid crashed. Everything went dark. Backup lights flickered on. Panic spread like a shockwave. Victor stormed out of the elevator. "Get the maintenance team. That power relay is connected to our Apex Wing servers." The maintenance team was off-site. Everyone's eyes fell on Lila. Victor scoffed. "You know, last thing we need is a mop wielder poking around million-dollar hardware." But the systems were seconds from catastrophic failure, the kind that would cost billions. Lila didn't wait for permission. She rushed to the server room, knelt beside the overloaded relay core, and reached into her supply cart. Beneath the microfiber cloths rested a small black case. She opened it. The Microflux hummed to life, unfolding like a metallic insect. The nearby engineers gaped. What is that?" "A repair unit," she said calmly. "One I built." Victor, breathless with outrage and desperation, snapped, "If you break anything, you're done." "If I don't do anything," she replied, "so are you." Before he could retort, she released the Microflux. It zipped into the relay housing and vanished inside the circuitry. A projection screen on its casing displayed live diagnostics, microfractures in the voltage regulator, thermal stress pockets, and corrupted nanochips, all mapped and labeled. The engineers stared like they had witnessed a miracle. Within minutes, the Microflux repaired the fractures, rebalanced the circuits, and rebooted the relay from within. The power surged back online. The room erupted into applause. Victor's face turned chalk white. But the real test came 2 days later. The Apex Wing drone, nicknamed the Pride of Arcturan, stood in the testing chamber surrounded by a sea of executives. The glitches had persisted until Lila offered to run a micro-flux sweep on the drone's internal systems. Victor had refused. The board overruled him. Lila stood there, trembling slightly, as she deployed the device once more. It darted inside the sleek metallic body of the drone, repairing microscopic misalignments and recalibrating the AI circuits with precision beyond any manual tool on the market. When it finished, the drone fired up perfectly. The launch test was flawless. The board members exchanged stunned glances. One whispered, "This changes everything." Another said, "We need her on the innovation team immediately." Victor stepped forward, trying to reassert dominance. "Well," he said loudly, "I suppose my leadership inspired this creativity." The board chairman cut him off. "Victor, enough. You mocked and dismissed the very person who saved your company." Victor's jaw locked. The chairman turned to Lila. "Miss Torres, would you be willing to present a full proposal for your microflux technology? We want to discuss patents, development funding, and possibly a new department under your leadership." The room fell silent. Lila nodded slowly. "Yes, I'd like that." Victor sputtered, "You can't just, she's a janitor." The chairman's cold stare silenced him. "She's the only reason your company survived the week." Then came the moment no one expected. Effective immediately, the chairman announced, "Victor Hale is suspended pending a vote to remove him as CEO." Gasps echoed through the chamber. Victor glared at Lila as if she were responsible for every downfall in his life. But beneath his rage was fear, not of losing his job, but of falling below the woman he had ridiculed. Within a month, everything changed. Lila's invention became the foundation of Arcturon's new micro-repair division. The micro-flux prototype evolved into a full product line. Media outlets hailed her as the genius who saved the tech giant from collapse. Investors poured millions into her research. And the board made its final decision. Victor Hale was removed as CEO and stripped of his executive authority. His arrogance, mismanagement, and inability to recognize talent had cost him everything. The day he came to clean out his office, he passed Lila in the hallway. This time, she wasn't wearing a janitor's uniform. She wore a white lab coat, her ID badge labeled Director of Autonomous Repair Technologies. Victor's eyes filled with resentment. "I hope you're happy," he spat. Lila held his gaze. "I'm not happy you failed, Victor. I'm happy I didn't let your judgment define my future." He scoffed and stormed off, shoulders stiff, pride shattered. Maybe someday he'd learn, but Lila was already done with him. Under her leadership, Arcturon entered a golden era. The micro-flux systems revolutionized everything from aircraft maintenance to medical device repair. Her team grew from 2 assistants to an entire department buzzing with innovation. She never forgot her roots. The supply closet where her invention had first been hidden was turned into a mini lab, preserved as a reminder of how brilliance can bloom even in places no one thinks to look. And though many tried to rewrite the story, to minimize her struggle or glamorize the company's redemption, Lila knew the truth. She didn't rise despite being a janitor. She rose because she never let the world convince her that a title determined her worth. Talent is talent, genius is genius, and the underestimated are often the ones with the greatest fire. In the end, the person Victor mocked was the one who saved the company he thought he alone had built. That was the sweetest revenge of all. Love X Revenge, where the underestimated always rise. If you enjoyed this story, stay tuned for more.